Chapter 31 of Genesis has a few interesting movements, the most interesting of which, I'll get to it in a minute, I guess. Jacob and Rachel and Leah, so his two wives, also known as his cousins, all decide to flee from Laban, which is his uncle and their dad, his cousin's dad, his uncle. Laban, they start calling him Laban the Aramean for some reason. He used to be Laban from Haran, and there was a running joke in these episodes that he's like a Dr. Seuss character. I loved that name, Laban from Haran. But now he's Laban the Aramean, and who I assume are the people who speak Aramaic, which is the language that Jesus spoke, which still has existing versions today. There are people who speak a modern version of Aramaic in the world. I met a guy from Jordan just a few weeks ago who said he spoke Aramaic. They gather all their things and leave, and then specifically Rachel steals, I don't know what this means, steals her father's household gods. That's what the Bible says. It says, when Laban had gone to shear his sheep, he goes outside and starts shearing the sheep, Rachel stole her father's household gods. And then Laban catches up with them. He pursues them across all the way into Gilead, another city. And he shows up, he searches everything. He searches the tents, he searches Jacob's things, he searches Leah's things, he searches all the servants. And Jacob's like, bro, what are you doing? This is so disrespectful. And then he walks up to Rachel to check her. And she goes, don't be upset with me, but I can't stand up. And he's like, why? And she goes, I'm on my period. That's actually the excuse she uses. It says the household gods were in the camel saddle and she was sitting on top of them. And so she's sitting up there, it's underneath her, and her dad goes, let me see the saddle. And she goes, I can't, I'm on my period. And she uses the excuse of her period to get out of being checked by her father. No one finds anything, and then they just make up. They get, everything's okay. Laban talks to Jacob. He goes, I guess you're all right. I guess you didn't do anything bad to me, even though Rachel is sitting over there on the camel, like sweating profusely and pretending she's having cramps, when really she's just got everything underneath her saddle. They have a feast. They say, let's put up a stone, a pillar, and I won't go onto this side and attack you, and you don't come to the other side and attack me. They make like rules for, they say not to harm me, so they have to set up physical boundaries in order to treat each other with respect. It literally feels like it's building up over and over. They both get dreams from God. Laban says that he gets a dream from God that says, don't say anything good or bad to Jacob. So whatever you say, don't make it good or bad. And then he shows up and just lets loose, just starts like tearing into Jacob. What have you done? You've deceived me. You carried off my daughters like captives to war. Why did you deceive me? Why didn't you tell me? I could have sent you away with music and song. I didn't even get to say goodbye to my daughters and my grandchildren. You've done a foolish thing. And then he goes, by the way, God came to me and said, be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad. So I guess none of that was good or bad. He was just like, I'm just getting this off my chest. I'm not going to say anything good or bad to you. And then they just eat food and he leaves. That's all that happens. Laban kisses his grandchildren, kisses his daughter, blesses them, and then goes home. And I have no idea why, but I've never heard this story in church at any point. And it's my guess is it's the period. It's got to be the period. There's no way some preacher dude was up there and wanted to talk about women's periods and using that as an excuse to get out of stealing household gods, which what are household gods? I have so many questions here. I've never heard this story before. It's only halfway through Genesis. It's 60% of the way through Genesis, chapter 30 out of 50. But we're coming back to Esau. I guess maybe this isn't talked about because it's not that consequential. It's not there wasn't really any movement. There was just a brief moment of tension in this part of the Bible. We're jumping back to Jacob meeting Esau, who I think has also been pursuing him ever since he took his blessing from their father. Jacob took Esau's blessing, fled, married his cousins, upset his uncle, and now Esau's coming to meet him. So we'll see what happens. You can tune in tomorrow. The next episode will be out, and you can find out what happens with Jacob and Esau.